warming up. You shouldn't be dying, man. You already did one fucking workout. Yeah, and this is gonna end hard. Yeah. What's your best pull? Round about 7? Okay, what's yours again?
650.
Okay, yours again? And what's Bianca pull? Just so I can show you guys how fucked up you look. You post all that front angle shit on Instagram thinking you look good and you don't. Yeah, start filming the shit from the side. Okay. Okay, see your start position?
Yeah.
It needs to be back. You want your shoulders really in line with the bar. At least the medial delt in line with the bar.
Okay.
There, it goes here. That's all lower back arching going from there to there.
Okay.
Now you can go from here to there just by flexing your ass.
Okay.
Your ass is stronger than your lower back.
Right.
So if all you're here and all you do is squeeze your ass to the bar,
Then I'm fine.
boom, you're here. Okay? So that's what we're gonna work on. Damn, phone actually has a purpose. So when I say hips, that's gonna be your cue to just pump it forward.
These are camera tips when you're lifting for the grain.
Right. Gotta have everything matching.
This is YouTube though. Everybody's gonna be like, who's that chick?
Hopefully they'll be nicer than they were last time.
Well, you didn't help matters wearing a trend shirt.
Yeah, you kind of asked for that. Yeah, it's funny, man.
Hips. Almost. It's a timing thing. Yours is different because that position's not bad, but right there you start shifting forward. You're here, and then you start moving forward because your hips are coming up too fast, right? So you need to shift back on your heels. So lifting your toes up from the start is going to get you to shift back so you don't do that. Then here, all that's going to your upper back, which is why your upper back is built like it is. See how it's rounded real big?
Yeah.
That's because all that's going into your upper back there. See, same thing with her. You're from here to here, all you're doing is arching your back. From here to here is just back arch. That position here, if you just pushed your hips forward and did nothing with your back, it would go here. All this from there forward is all wasted movement. All that is wasted erector movement that doesn't have to be done. Right there, hips, boom, it all comes forward, right?
I would have had the lift done a lot sooner.
So lift your toes, right? When you initiate the pull, lift your toes, and then when I say hips, we'll see if we can come forward. Toes up, fall back, hips. Better? All right, this is yours is gonna be so fucking easy. Where are you at? All right, so here, right there, if you can get your back arched a little more. So let's get your shoulders over your toes, all right?
Just arch a little.
See, right there is where you kind of want to be when you start. Because if you can get in that position when you start, yes, so if you can get in that position when you start, this is just a leg press. See, all that, you have to actually lift. Where if that back is in a better position from the start.
Do you think it's more of a shoulder lat thing, or do you think it's a...
It's a position thing.
Oh,
if you
okay.
push your knees out, that's going to get you back more. So if you push, as Ed Cohn would say, if you open your taint,
Yeah,
right?
okay,
If you
yeah.
push your knees out, you can use your elbows to push your knees out because of where they are.
Okay.
Right, so that's a way to cheat, even if you don't have the flexibility.
Okay.
Drive your elbows against the knees, force them out, and try to, you know, like a sumo squat.
Sure.
Okay, where you're doing a sumo deadlift, but think of it as a sumo squat.
It's more upright.
Yes, yes. Use your arms, push the knees out, better, good. It's better, yes, yes.
Round the back.
It's not bad, it's just, you have very long femurs, right? So that we gotta work with that. You know, that's, the shoulder, see where you're pulling like an Olympic lifter. Did you ever do a lot of cleans and shit like that?
No, not really.
You'd be a fucking good Olympic lifter. Just, see, your whole shoulder is in front of the bar, right? And I get having some of your shoulder in front of the bar. I'm not, you know, I'm not like some people in the industry where it has to be completely blank. But that's too much, man. That creates so much work. But everything I'm trying to get them to do, boom, the hip hop, look what you do. Boom. It's all hip.
Yeah.
You know, and the hips are forcing your back up, right? So if you could give them that and then they could give you the start, fucking great deadlift. So I think you just got to find a way, and we'll play around with it a little bit, to, with your femurs as high as they are, to get this back. Maybe you're not pulling the slack out of the bar. Maybe you think you are, but you're not. So we'll try something here. Is this your weight? Okay. So when you go to pull and you come up, you hear that? Okay. So instead of just pulling the slack out, pull until you hear that, then pull, right? So pull. All right, that is essentially pulling the slack out, but you're gonna use an audible for it instead of thinking you're doing something I don't think you may actually be doing.
Sprinter.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm sure if we put, you know, 200s on each end of the bar and just put all the weight out, you could pull the slack out because you can certainly feel that. This, you're not gonna feel it because you really need 4, 5, 6 plates before you can pull the slack out. To me, it's like, yes, it's stupid telling somebody that pulls under 400 pounds, pull the slack out of the bar. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And most gym bars don't even have slack to begin with. They're just
Yeah, so if you go off that sound, or if it's IPF, you don't have a deadlift bar. It's not gonna bend anyhow. But if you go off that click, then it's the same thing. Okay, let's try that. Better? Feel weird? Okay, good. We'll go down. I'm gonna have you guys keep working up so it's heavy so I can find a muscular issue. Technique-wise, we're gonna have to go back down to start working this stuff, but if you're conscious of it, it's gonna be easier when we drop back down. But the weight's getting a little heavy, it's gonna be really hard to make any big change right now. But there's, like the bench, you guys don't have glaring fuck-ups that you're doing, so I'm not worried about it. While they're doing this, try to see if you can figure out what height we'll have them pull at the end off of it. Is it going to have to be 2 of those or 3?
What do you want it to be? Like
Right underneath. I don't know if it's going to be that much different actually for all of them because her knee to ankle is. Hips now, hips, better. Tucking your chin helps. You tucked your chin a bit at that time and it made a difference. So I don't know why, but it did. So let's roll with that, right? Toes up. Eyes up, eyes up. What the fuck? Put a belt on. Get more chalk and give him that dead ammonia thing. When you chalk, get in here and in here, right? Okay. So not just here, but here. So you can dig your grip in real hard. Don't think about it. Just get your mind where you need to pull and just let me tell you what you need to do. Just do it. Okay, dig your grip in. Dig it in down, hard, harder, harder. Pull the toes a little bit. You're gonna roll your eyes up to the top of your head as you pull. Go! Eyes up! Hips! There. You know what? I think it's called a deadlift.
Nothing's hitting like that ammonia, man.
It's nasty, man. I mean, it got sent back to us because it's dead.
What's that?
Yeah, somebody told me it was dead. It got sent back to us. That ammonia? It's dead. It's no good. It's dead.
I feel careful, and then he just went like, nose in. And I was like, okay.
Listen for the click. Grab, click, click, go! Hips. Good. What's your best?
I mean 385.
Okay. How far off that do you think you are?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
So it could be better. You don't know.
Pardon me?
It could be better. You don't know one way or
I
another.
don't know.
Okay. All right. Chin tuck, hips, 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 hips. Good. Get your torso in position. All right. So you don't think of trying to take your head this way. Try to think of trying to pop your head straight through the ceiling in a straight angle. Right. If it's here, it's going to go this way.
Okay.
Straight angle, straight to the ceiling. Yes.
Leg press.
Yes. Well, no, because I want you to concentrate more on your torso, not your leg. Your legs are going to do, what they're going to do. That has to go like that. Okay? Strong setup, and then drive your head to the sky. There. Almost. Damn it. Shit. You were there, and it slipped out when the bar fucked you up. The bar whipped and threw you forward. Don't take tension off the bar. Once you get set, don't do that.
Liz, just shut up and deadlift.
Not able to get her position for the single for her.
Liz, don't try to set up too low.
Too low?
Yeah, don't try to set your hips too low. You don't get any leverage, because then you start pulling and then your butt comes up and then it comes up higher before it leaves the ground. So start up with it a little bit higher.
Remember to drive your hips as soon as they hit your knee.
Hips.
There, see? Don't wait. If you wait, you're gonna arc.
Yeah,
Yeah. So finish your knee, bam.
exactly. See what he said?
Yeah.
See, don't wait till it gets over your knees. It's too late.
Okay.
Think a little earlier than that, because the bar's going to travel a little bit before you actually use them.
Right.
That's all.
Let's do flea market.
Well, so here's
Yeah.
because by the time it leaves their mouth, it gets in your brain. So I'm doing it without reaching and hoping.
Especially that brain, because she goes out with Justin, so she has bad. There's a lot of bad shit in there already.
Yeah. So if he waits to your knees, it's too late.
Okay. So with my butt better? Show my butt.
If we didn't say anything, it's fine.
Knees, hit. Good.
It's not bad at all. It's just getting stronger.
Maybe he'll say something differently than I did, and it'll click.
Yeah.
Stop.
Do this. Stop.
Don't pull.
Do this. Walk up to the bar and set your legs right. Squat down to the bar without bending over.
All right, so this is different than what I was doing. So this.
Now lean a little bit forward. Pop your chest and your chin up. Right there.
What feels wrong when you do that? Your hamstrings, your abs.
I don't feel like it's gonna move at all.
I don't forget that. Go deeper. Than
You got to pull and get yourself tight against. Use the leverage of the bar to pull yourself in tight.
It's not good. I feel like my legs are.
All right. Where you're starting from, that looks perfect in that style that we just did. Set yourself up your style. And then I'll correct you. Right there, you are completely, watch me, stay right there. This is how you are. How does that look? Yeah, how does it, if I pull, I'm gonna pull like this. You see where everything, look where my butt is. How can I lock this out right here? Look where the weight is, look where my hips are. I can't lock that out. Look at this, watch. I'm just gonna pop my chest up and my shoulders back. How does that look? Yeah, so you're starting off like this. So you're going like this. So look where your hips are. You can't move it. You're not using any legs either. So you gotta grab here, pull against the bar and pull yourself in fucking tight. Look, see this? Move your crotch in closer to the bar and start there. Just sit up and get tight. 1, 2, push, pull it. See?
The last one is solid.
How do you look conventional?
Horrible.
Why?
It's not good. There's like 100 pound difference.
Really? Because the way you're deadlifting, it's almost like a stiff leg. Can you go a closer stance, Sumo?
Go closer, Sumo. See if you can get more quad into it.
How does this feel?
Your hips to the bar. Roll back and bring your chin up.
Push.
No, now
Yeah.
I want to go for it.
Take a quarter off. Do your deadlift and let me watch 2 1/4. Now right there, just get your chest up a little bit. No, I didn't say push your butt down.
What?
I just said pick your chest up.
I feel like they're one and the same.
No, they're not. Chest.
There.
Chest.
I kind of feel like the bar wants to float. No.
It's not. It's not. When you pick your chest up, the bar naturally comes into you. I think upper back and adductors are weak. Because right when she goes to pull, it only comes up from here. Her back rounds over right away. So right away you got a weak upper back. So that's lots of rows and face pulls and that shit. So when this happens, then all of a sudden, then you just push your legs a little bit and use your rest of your back to try to pull it in. You're not really using anything in here. If you use everything in here, this would happen right away. This isn't happening at all. So when you set up and get tight, that's how you should be.
Okay.
Just like that. You are like this. You're not like this. You're like this. So you go, and then you try to pull your back. It's just your style.
Let's do this. Put your belt on. There is form technique with salaries. Ricky wrote something about that.
Yeah, like your perfect is different than our perfect. But you have inherent weaknesses that are making your form inferior to take you to a higher level. You know, what the form you had before got you here, but it's not going to let you go very much further unless you change it a little bit.
So here's what I'm looking for. Just clear your fucking head. If you're overthinking, you're frustrated, you're mad, right? So just clear your head, make a joke, laugh. There we go. Fucking look at something else. Okay, look at something else. All right, so just chill out. They're not really looking at you.
Just right when you start pulling, make sure we get this up. That's it.
Chilling out. Okay, now here. Go up to the bar and just do what that tells you to do. Don't dance. Don't
Yeah,
dance.
just deadlift and get your chest up a little faster. That's it. That's it. That's all I want. Chest. Wow, that was nice. Chest. Good. There you go.
Listen, hey, take the pressure off yourself and increase your standard. You're getting too frustrated, right? Just fucking everything up and getting mad. Just sometimes you just gotta chill out, step back, fucking laugh a little bit, and then step back and do it again, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I ended up overthinking too much.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Pete Rubish here in London, Ohio at the Elite FDS headquarters. I'm going to go over the deadlifts and the cues I like to use and kind of a new technique I've been using that I've seen a lot of success with. So I don't like to complicate it as much as I used to. I like to keep it pretty simple. So the main thing with the deadlift, I would go, the first thing I want to do is line up my feet. That's the most important thing. That's the number one thing people screw up. They either start with the bar too close to their shins or they start too far away. So either one of those, it's going to put you in a less than optimal leverage position. So generally I like to line the bar up where it's over the middle of my feet. So right over the midfoot, not too close, but not too far away. And that's where most people are going to be in the optimal position. I also like to be just inside of the knurling. So we've got the start of the knurling just on the outside of my legs. I want to be just inside of that. And that's going to kind of set the tone for your positioning with the rest of the lift. When I grab the bar, I like to be just at the start of the knurling. And this is going to kind of depend on how you're built. This is where there isn't necessarily a one-size-fits-all formula. Some people, you know, bigger guys are going to need to go a little wider with their hands. Smaller guys are going to come in a little closer. And I generally like to have the feet pointed fairly straight ahead. There's a slight angle. My toes are pointed out a smidge, but not so much that I'm going to have my knees traveling out, getting in the way of my arms. So I generally try to go straight ahead for the most part with my feet, and that's going to kind of line you up. Now, one of the other mistakes you'll see a lot of guys make is when they start a deadlift, they try to squat down into it too much. So they try to get back here to where their hips are going to shoot up right away. So if you start in too much of a squat position, your hips are going to shoot up right at the start of the lift because your body will naturally put you in the point of the ideal leverage. That's what it's going to do. It's going to naturally drift you to that position. So that's what you see when people's hips shoot up. Generally, the hip shooting up is not a weakness. It's an incorrect starting position. So that's why we don't want to be back here squatting down. I want my hips high to where my shoulders are in front of the bar. So another way you can look at this is don't get your shoulders behind the bar. We want the shoulders slightly in front of the bar. And then another thing that really helps is I want my head up. I want to be looking forward at the start of the lift. So a lot of people look down, but my issue with that is it puts you in a more rounded upper back position, which makes it harder to lock out. So rather than looking down, I want to look forward. And those are the main cues. The last thing I would say is tension through the arms. You want your arms taut to where they're completely locked out. There's no bend in them. We don't want any give. And I want to almost be pushing the bar away from me at the start, pulling the slack out. So even if it's a stiff bar, you can still do this. I do this on a stiff bar as well because that's what I usually train on. So I'm in my positioning right here. I see this little bit of tension. That's what I want. It's very subtle. When people think about pulling the slack out of the bar, they overthink it. They think it's similar to leg drive on bench. It's overthought, in my opinion. It's subtle. So you do want to try to pull the slack out, get your arms taut, and get that tension. But it's not this major shift. It's just a very subtle thing that's going to set you up a little tighter. So I'm right here. I've got the slack out just like that. I feel that tension through my upper back. You should feel tension all through the upper back, all through the traps, rhomboids. And then I get in my position here. And then I'm going to come down slow. Or not even slow. And you can come down rounded. That's okay. But this whole concept I use now of quiet negatives. So I'm bringing the bar down as quiet as possible. I'm trying to set it down as quiet as possible. So it's not slow. That's a big mistake people make. I'm not necessarily trying to go slow on the way down. I'm just trying to go down to where I set the bar down extremely quiet. And that will engage the low back and upper back even further. You get more benefits out of that. So those are the main things. Give it a shot. And obviously, once the weight's heavier, you won't be able to go quite as quietly. You won't be able to put it down as quietly. But if you still practice that principle early on in your training cycles, it will lead to big gains when you take it out of your training cycle. So I'll start my training cycle out doing a lot of the quiet negatives. And then once the weight gets heavier, I can take that out at the very end when I'm peaking. And I'm way stronger for it. So it's a tremendous low back and upper back strength builder. So I'll show it again. And I can be a little slower with 225 here because it's lightweight. But let's say this was 600 pounds. It's not going to be quite as slow. But the whole point is to be quiet on the way down, not slow. So there's a big differentiation there. I still go fast on the way down, but I set it down quietly to really brace the lats, engage the lats, upper back, and low back. So we'll try it again. We'll put it all together. We look at the foot positioning first and foremost. We get the hands dialed in right outside of the knees. Pull the tension out. Hips high, shoulders over the bar, head up. And then I'm just going to come down. Quiet. So I'll do a couple reps here to show you again. But On the way down, don't overthink it either. You don't have to break with your quads. You don't have to use your legs. Use your low back to lower the weight in that rounded position, but just try to set it down quietly. So this has been huge for me. This put about 60 pounds on my deadlift using this and the 45-degree back extensions. These two principles. So again, foot position, hands just outside of the knees at the start of the knurling. Tension, head up. So that kind of gives you an idea of putting it all together. And those are the principles that have really helped me take my deadlift to the next level.
Okay, so Nick is a conventional deadlifter with a 700-pound plus conventional deadlift. So I don't give a shit about his conventional deadlift. What I want to know is where his weaknesses are. So what I'm going to do is, for some way, shape, or form, he doesn't pull conventional, doesn't even really train it. And that means it's going to show weaknesses way, way faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let him set up on a sumo deadlift, and we're going to take him up to where we start seeing some form break. Where the form breaks is probably going to be where we saw the weaknesses on his squat about 2 months ago. So the point is like sometimes assessment tools are not always what you're good at. It's what you're unfamiliar with. It will show weaknesses faster. So let's get to the sumo deadlift and let Nico warm up, and we'll build up to a point where we have a technical breakdown. Like I said, when you get to 2-3 plates, start making little bullshit mistakes now. Yeah, that's okay. Good. All right, so just with 225, we've seen a couple little things we can fix. So what I would like to do is he's going to go back down and grab the bar. So go ahead, grab the bar and act like you're going to get ready to pull it. Now, I want him to keep his hips up a little bit higher. Now, I want him to look a little bit past neutral. Don't jar your head all the way back. But what he's going to do, as soon as he's going to set his hips, and he's going to look to that squat rack way down there, that black squat rack when he gets ready to pull. So he's going to pull his hips down, pick his head up, and he's going to pull from there. Now go. Much better. You see how much more smooth that looked? That's good, Nick. You see how much more smooth that looked than just the rep before it? The rep before it almost looked like a good morning, and that one looked like he squatted it up. This is what's happening with a lot of these big deadlifters these days. They're getting in a position where they just leg press it up because their chest is already so high. That is fixed a little bit by picking his head up just a little bit more and pulling his hips a little bit further down. Let's see what 315 looks like. Okay, so what I'm watching now is I'm watching Nick's foot pressure. So we fixed his upper back a little bit. We knew that was a weakness. We fixed him getting his chest up a little higher, and we fixed him pulling his glutes down a little more to get more in that squat position. Now, that could be different for a lot of different people based on how you're built. But the one thing that I think stays the same is I'm watching Nick's foot pressure. His foot pressure in that was not lateral. It was just flat down in the ground. So this next one, he's really going to drive his knees out, and he's going to try to stay on the side of his shoe. So I want him to focus his mentality on the side of his shoe when he goes to pick this up, and that's going to get this knee to push out laterally, and he's going to squat down even a little bit more, and his positioning is going to be even better. So let's see that again. Arch it, lateral foot pressure, head up, and go. Amazing. You can even see the snap of that 315 off the ground so much faster. Why? When you push out laterally, the same as a squat, what I taught you a couple months ago, it forces the glutes to help the legs on the way up. And you notice that everything looked like it was working together. There weren't pieces. It wasn't like leg strength, then back, and then glutes. It was all glutes, legs, back at the same time. Boom, like a scissor. That is when you know you're doing it perfect. And I find that a lot of times that is all starting with the proper foot pressure. Okay, let's go to 405. Yep, good. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to look at and watching Nick is I want him to fill his stomach up as far as he can and pushing on this belt. He's trying to break this little lever off the belt. He's trying to snap it off. That's step one. Step two, he's going to flex his lats harder when he picks the bar up off of the floor. And watch how much faster 405 comes with the right foot pressure, this right position, this tighter and tighter lats. Yep, big air. Lateral foot pressure, lock in the lats, lock in the abs, hit. Easy, solid. So you can see that lock in the lat and that bigger ab pressure, actually, when he got to his knee, it just almost snapped like a vertical jump. That's what it's going to take when he wants to pull big weights. Now, I'm going to stop coaching. We're going to go up another plate. And now that I've taught him everything that he can learn in a day with technique, which is probably more than I would teach somebody the first time I see him on a deadlift, we're going to go up enough to where he either fails or he starts to break form of something that he can't hold in that position. That should show us if we're on the right track with the warm-up and what we should be doing with the accessories. So what you're probably going to see with him as he gets harder is he has a problem with his hips coming up higher because his legs are stronger than his glutes. That's usually what that means. So once we see that, we don't need to go any heavier. We know where the weaknesses are. We can go back to the board and we can devise a handful of exercises that he can take home and use to correct that weakness. And then maybe in 6 months or so, we do a revamp video. And then with that revamp video, we see what the weaknesses got fixed and we watch it go higher. All right, let's see it. Yeah. Hips down, chest up, push out. There it is. Okay. So what we saw was a little bit of a stagnation point. He had to almost put max power into it. The bar kind of hopped and then it went. So what that's telling me is he might not be pulling enough slack out of the bar, which means his lats may not be tight enough and or his foot pressure is not staying lateral. So we'll put another plate on and we'll actually see where this stops or what breaks. Big air. Go through the cues from your feet to your head. Lock it in. There it is. Big air. Hey! Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Go, go, go. There it goes. There it goes. Good job. Okay. So what we saw was his hips shoot up first. So that's telling me he's quad dominant. And obviously you can see his legs are fucking ginormous. What we have to do is get his glutes as predominant as his quads. This is a very common issue that you're going to see that people that squat with knees over toes or that have a bad squat form. Ironically, his squat form is really, really good. So what we just need to do is activate more glutes. So we did that a little bit with the kettlebell swings. We worked on posterior chain with the hamstring curls. We got his grip. That looked good. And we also noticed that his starting strength off the ground was a little bit weaker. So once he broke it about 3-4 inches off the ground, it was easy. So what does starting strength mean? Well, a lot of times it means positioning. So when he went to pull and max strain on it, his butt came up first, which put him in a good morning position and made him strain more on his upper back, not giving him a good position to drive with his legs. His legs had already done the work. So we just got to create that motor pattern that his legs and his hips and his upper back all work together in one integral unit. So there's a lot of different ways we can attack this, but I'll show you some ways that I would do it. So in the winning warm-up, we found what we knew we were going to see. Weaknesses, glutes, hamstrings, upper back. His upper back actually looked really good, but you could tell the hamstring to quadricep ratio still needs some work, and we could tell the glutes are not firing at the same rate the knees are. That's why the legs extended first off the floor, okay? So as we went up, even in a good coach's eye, we saw different problems at different weights, but we really saw everything come together at 495. If I were to do this and not do it for filming, I would work him all the way up and not give him too many coaching cues here until I saw the breaking point, and then all this would come out in massive amounts. But I kind of cheated it and wanted you guys to see that there are even form corrections with a 700-pound conventional deadlifter at 225. So this is relative to you guys as well. Okay, so all of these areas, once they were fixed, this became the big problem, which is very common. The legs extend first. So what we have to do is we have to constantly battle the anterior chain, trying to take everything over, i.e., we get here and he does this. Boom. Then he has to straighten it up. That means the legs are more powerful than the posterior chain, in my opinion. So what we need to do is stay away from doing more quadricep work, and we need to really blast the hamstrings, the glutes, the lower back, and we got to get the abs stiffer. And we also probably, we won't have time for it in this video, work the dynamic effort method in the sumo deadlift and work on that getting off the floor speed, okay? If you look at a lot of the great deadlifters, they really get that fucker moving really fast. And the key is, if you get it breaking fast, inertia is on your side, and therefore you can lighten the weight up long enough to lock it out.
What's up, guys? I'm Alex Bromley. I am here at the majestic Elite FTS Training Center. Today we're going to cover some deadlift tips. Now, these are specifically going to help people who, A, are trying to stay durable or have some injuries are working around. They're trying to fix something that's going on with the midsection lower back. And B, anybody who has a vested interest in being a more efficient puller and getting more out of their efforts. Now you might be thinking, Bromley, you don't deadlift 900 pounds. Why would we listen to you? And you would be absolutely right. In fact, I don't deadlift 800 pounds. But as the saying goes, the best coaches are the mediocre athletes who tried really hard to get good. And I think I fall into that camp. I spent about 10 years just holding on by the skin of my teeth. I had a hard time getting my deadlift very far over 600 pounds because I was routinely getting injured. And I still had to compete with these monster middleweight strongmen that deadlift 850, 900 pounds. And I had to match the hip extension. I had to match the loading, the carrying, and so on. And eventually I had to figure out my deadlift. And I did. Using these principles, I got my back healthy. It's been about 6 years since I've had an issue. And I've been able to put about 150 pounds on my pull in that time. So hopefully this stuff is relevant to you. Hopefully there's some takeaways. Now, if you believe that it makes you durable, there's some controversy around this, but I do. If you believe this makes you durable, it's in your best interest to practice these. Either way, worst case scenario, it doesn't, and it's all a wash as far as who gets injured based on which setup. This is still a better way to maintain rigidness, to prevent strength leak. Because if you're firing your hips and legs to pull into that bar, and if you're giving here, meaning you want that bar to go up and this is going down, that's inefficient. You're leaving pounds on the table. And I personally believe that will lead to more injury long-term. Worst case scenario, it takes pounds off your pull. That's no bueno, so we want to skip that. So this is going to come down to posture. What's going on with your ribs? What's going on with your hips? If you stumbled across Brian Carroll or Stu McGill's stuff, Gift of Injury is a great book. Back Mechanics, a great book. Chris Duffin has done some stuff on this. So this might not seem that new to you, but it's worth doing a refresher course. So that's what we're going to do. So right here, we have our lifter. I know these are kind of cartoonish comic book proportions. I grew up on 90s comic books. Body positivity people think it's unfair that Barbie is not made to scale. Try growing up with Colossus and Wolverine as your main inspiration for what the male body should look like. Anyways, don't nitpick my drawings. This is a guy who has an excessive arch in his lower back. This is somebody who, if you can imagine, I tried drawing somebody holding a barbell here, but it looked like he was holding his junk. So just use your imagination. Hips coming through, head up, really trying to nail that lockout, getting the shoulders back. Some of you might identify with that curve with the shoulders back, with the anterior pelvic tilt right here. This is the hips pointed down to the front and the ribs flaring up. So the analogy that's given, keep the soda can stacked. If you imagine these are the tops of a soda can, that's a dented can. I've also heard don't bust your biscuits. That's another good analogy for what's going on. Now, the idea here with this posture, and it's exactly the same thing if you're rounded forward the other way. If you're one of these lifters that just dumps forward and hangs on your erectors and just says a prayer every time you do a deadlift that everything's going to be okay. What you're doing is you are destabilizing the spine. You are making, you are allowing for strength leak. You are making it harder to keep that rigid because these structures, the ribs, you can look at the diaphragm and the pelvic floor are not stacked on top of each other. So right here, you can see when the ribs flare, and you can experiment with this. Really try to open up your chest. Like you're really getting really broad in the front right here. Your abdominals stretch. If you get an ab cramp and you're trying to stretch, that's exactly what you do. You arch like you're getting set up for a bench attempt. The abs open up. So a stretched muscle is going to be weaker structurally. You're going to have a lot less receptivity. And on the other hand, over here, the erectors are going to be really compacted. So some of you guys that have back pumps is like a main problem. You can't get through a workout because you keep getting back pumps. Well, if your deadlifts look like what you do on a reverse hyper, if you're going through this stretch shortening cycle, you are driving blood in there the way you drive air into a bicycle tire. It's like pumping up your bicep with a set of curls. So no wonder you're getting a back pump. Your goal, however you set up, I don't even necessarily care that you set up like this or slightly rounded forward. A lot of really good deadlifters do. What I care about is that that lower back is frozen in space and that it doesn't move. And the best way to do that is to bring the ribs down, provided that they're flared. If you tend to hunch over anyways, don't work into it. We're trying to reach this idea of neutral, where the ribs, the diaphragm are stacked directly over the pelvic floor. And also by neutralizing our hips, if you do have that anterior pelvic tilt, if the butt sticks back, bringing it under, squeezing your glutes, kind of tucking your hips under just a bit to reach this standard. What that does, that takes your hamstrings, which are stretched when you're in that position. That takes your abdominals that are stretched when you're in that position. And that takes your glutes, which are stretched, and it tightens them just a little bit. So aside from injury prevention or being able to work around back issues, it gives you more purchase in those muscles so you can feel them fire at the start of your deadlift. So this is our idea of neutral. So heads down. Remember, you don't have to look up at the sky. You should be able to position your chest, your midsection, your hips, regardless of what your head is doing. But neutral position, ribs stacked over the hips, glutes start tight, hamstrings start tight, abdominals are tight. Now that's key, because abdominal work, most of you guys are just monsters. They can move all kinds of weight. Knees, hips can extend under crazy amounts of load. But most of you have a midsection like I used to have that's essentially made out of tapioca pudding. You want to be able to maintain rigidness, and that starts by learning how to brace your abs and by learning how to stay tight and rigid, especially under load. And it takes some work. I recommend looking into the McGill 3. It's a good place to start. You do things like bird dogs, dead bugs, side planks. You start with positioning, then you build endurance. Then once you have that down, you start to apply strength and start to increase the load over time. But we're going to show in a minute how to apply this to your deadlift. So ribs are down, everything's tight. By being braced and by learning how to breathe into those abdominals, 90-90 breathing, it's another good exercise where you're on the floor, feet up on the wall. But you practice breathing into the tensed abs. So everything's locked in. You're breathing. This is resistance, and all the air is coming up here. And you guys that are used to just strapping on your belt extra tight and just taking a big belly breath and shoving everything out, you tend to play into this dysfunction. And you can look at guys that have had trouble later into their career. You know, it's quick and dirty for handling a bunch of weight on your back. But long term, you should be able to handle a lot of weight in a compromised position with a round, with crazy amounts of weight without necessarily having to rely on a belt, because you know how to turn your midsection into a belt, get that circumferential pressure from tightening everything up, breathing into it, creating that stability. And even now, I practice that when I do wear a belt, where abs are locked in, breathing into the tensed abs, and then I squeeze everything around that. And it's helped me through crazy deadlift medleys, through carry medleys, through loading. So we're going to take this, and I'm going to show you guys real quick on this bar how to apply it, because you don't have to go through months of bird dogs, dead bugs, and anything else. You can start today and start to apply this to your setup. So however you set up, whether you're a guy that's knees way over the bar using a lot of leg drive, or whether you're a guy that sets way back, shins vertical, and turns it more into like a hip sled type movement, regardless of the situation, having this posture is going to allow you to brace and stay rigid with more weight, which means more efficiency, which means you get more horsepower out of the main movers, the hips and the knees. So think about a plank. That's how we're starting out. If you're on the ground, you're in a plank. If your back hurts on a plank, it's because you're arched. Think about setting yourself up in a position, getting those hips forward, ribs down. So now you're braced and you can breathe. You can maintain that position. That's what the top of your deadlift should look like. Kettlebell swings are also great, because that snap at the top, you should be snapping into that plank. So the key of a deadlift is a hinge movement. Well, a hinge is not a hinge if your spine is getting into the mix. If you're rounding, if you're moving, that's unstable. So we want to practice a hinge. So ribs down, glutes tight, diaphragm stacked over the pelvic floor. And in this position, we release at the hips. And the idea is that you should be able to maintain this position the entire way. Now, some of you guys will pull way over the bar with your butt up, and you'll stiff like the movement, and you can still set up in that position. Some of you guys, I've actually pulled like this for a long time. You think like a Jerry Pritchett deadlift, feet wide, hips back, head up. Either way, I can keep my ribs down. I can brace here, and I can bring my lats into it. I can get that arch back that clamps everything down. It's like a briefcase, the clips being latched down. And that gives you so much damn stability in here that when you squeeze those abs, there is no weak link. Everything is tight, everything's rigid. If you're having back issues, I strongly recommend doing work in that position, getting comfortable, neutralizing your spine. If you're having issues with back pumps, if you can't get through reps, if you're on the ground rolling around because everything's just tightening up on you, this is a good way to alleviate that. And like I said, long term, it's going to be more efficient pulling, more efficient reps. It's going to make sure you can transfer all that strength onto the bar when it counts. So thanks so much for watching, guys. This is Bromley at Elite FTS. Until next time, I'll see you.
This is Shane Haller. We're here at Elite FTS, and today I'm just going to be going over a couple tips and tricks that I use with the deadlift. And, you know, these are things that I just kind of really focus on while I'm deadlifting that I think really kind of help enable my pull to be, you know, pretty decent here. So starting off, we're just going to go over some conventional stuff. For me, I like to kind of keep my stance pretty nice, you know, nice and tight. Obviously, you know, there's some bigger guys that, you know, it's harder for them to get down to the bar. So obviously your stance is kind of, you know, going to be based on your own personal preference. But for me, I like to keep everything nice and tight here. And then I pull with a hook grip, which means I'm going to be, you know, pulling with both my hands over, and the weight's really going to be kind of sitting in my hands here. So not going to be that over-under grip, which I think this allows me to get a little more range of motion. And, you know, in 4 or 5 years of pulling this way, I've never dropped a deadlift. So if you're able to really figure out your hook grip and set it, and you can deal with the pain of it, then this would really be a grip that I would recommend. So for me, I'm going to come on down here, bend on down at the knees, keep everything kind of nice and tight up top here. I'm going to get my grip just a little bit outside of the knurling, nice and tight. And then when I set my hook grip, what I want to try and focus on is bringing this thumb as close to my pinky as I can. So I'm not going to get there, but that's like the idea you want to really kind of cue in your head. So if you can try and bring your thumb as far across as you can. So from here, I'm going to get my hook grip set. So I'm going to set that thumb first. Like I said, it's going to be going diagonally across the bar. And then I'm going to lay my hands over the top. When I do set that grip, my thumb is going to be typically, let's see here, it's going to be under this ring finger right here. So when I'm holding it, I'm going to be right here. This index finger and this pinky are really going to be kind of hanging out, but the grip is primarily going to be set here, and my pinky is going to be kind of just chilling on the outside. So once I get everything set here, I'm going to feel it out a couple times. Like I said, just kind of making sure everything feels good. This is something that you definitely do not want to rush. If you rush it, you know, you're going to be prone to either drop the bar, you could tear your thumb. Both things would not be ideal. So you definitely want to try and take your time down here. Get your hook grip set the way you want to. And then once everything feels nice and locked in, you're going to watch my hand position from here to here. I like to use the cue knuckles down. So that way, when I'm going to take the slack of the bar, you see how my hands are going to roll that way anyway? This way, I get it nice and tight here. And then when I'm set, I'm already getting my hands locked in. The idea for me is I want to be as stretched out as possible. So reducing that range of motion. The less distance I have to travel, the better. The more weight you're going to have in there, you're going to want to move as little as possible. So for me, I'm getting this hand set here. My knuckles are down. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bunch of tension in my upper back and take the slack out of the bar at the same time. Good cue for this would be covering your armpits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be locked in. I'm going to try and have a big chest and retract here. So what this is going to do is going to lock everything into my back. Going to keep my back from rounding over. Maybe if you shoot from the side here, it might be a little bit easier to see. So once I get set here, I'm going to be nice and tight. Try and keep my back as flat as possible. I'm then going to retract those shoulder blades. Like I said, using the cue, covering my armpits here. And it kind of pulls everything down. You can see the bar pulls up off the ground here. When the weight gets heavy, I'm not going to be able to pull all that weight up. But what I will do is I will slack the bar. And with a deadlift bar, you're going to get some give to it. So if I can pull the bar even that much further up, it's that less further that I have to travel. The bar is going to be nice and tight at that point. If I don't pull that slack out of the bar, you can get what's called whip of the bar. So if I go to yank the bar and everything's not tight, I'm going to pull in one direction, but the bar is not tight. So it's going to kind of create some instability where it could pull me forward, knock me out of position here. So I want to try and keep everything as tight as possible as I'm getting set for this pull. So I'm going to be coming in here. I'm going to get nice and tight here. I'm going to retract these shoulder blades, slack that bar. You can feel, as soon as I do this, instant tension in my hamstrings, my glutes, a little bit in my lower back, but you don't want to focus as much on that, like I said, because then you're going to be putting more pressure in that back. I want to drive with my legs here. So I'm going to be coming in. I'm set. Take that tension, retract those shoulder blades, cover the armpits here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rock back just a little bit on my heels to kind of create that tension here. And as I do that, I'm going to lift my chest and I'm going to look up. That's going to kind of take my back from this position here to a little bit more upright. So from here, I'm locked in, slacked out. I'm going to rock back a little bit, look up, and go. So again, in a full speed, I'm going to be here, slacked out, just a little bit. I wouldn't even necessarily say rocking back. The pressure is going to be going into my midfoot. So I don't want to have my pressure on my toes, everything falling forward. So if I have pressure here on the front of my feet, as I pull, I'm going to pitch forward. I'm going to lose my position. I'm not going to get that lift. I'm going to fall forward. So I want to create as much pressure backwards as I can to really wedge under that bar and drive up here. So again, coming in here, I'm set, slacked out, put that pressure in that midfoot, chest up, full speed. One more time. And as I'm coming up here, a good cue to lock everything out, squeezing these glutes here. I want to try and get everything as tight as possible as I'm coming up with the bar. So when I come up here, nice and locked out, but this is also going to keep my knees from being soft in this position here. A soft knee is going to be a no lift. It's going to make it much harder to lock out. So if you can focus on just keeping everything nice and tight up through the top, squeezing those quads, those hamstrings, staying nice and tall. You get that lift.
With the deadlift, you know, or even with the clean. Guys, understand what the clean is for the most part, and I know I'm breaking it down kind of simply. Might piss some people off by doing it this way, but this is how we're going to talk about it. A clean is no different than doing, it's pretty much a conventional deadlift, an RDL, and a front squat. Correct? For the most part, that's what it is. Okay? So you got to teach those movements. You want to do a good clean. You want to actually clean your athletes, do explosive movement, do Olympic movements, then teach it correctly. Okay? Conventional deadlift is a great movement to do, but it's a part of the clean, plain and simple. All right? I don't move our athletes into the clean for the most part until they can do proper hinge motion, proper front squat, okay, and conventional deadlift. All right? Once I get the hinge motion done and I got the front squat done, I can hang clean. Great, wonderful. All right? I want them to go from the floor. You better teach them how to do conventional deadlift properly. All those things will get you prepared and get your athletes prepared to move into a clean if that is what you want to do. Okay? With the deadlift, shins are perpendicular. You want your shins to be as perpendicular as possible. Don't let the knees get too far over top of the bar. Why? That pushes the bar away from your center of gravity. Okay? You want the bar as tight in as you possibly can. All right, especially with the clean, when you're coming up, if the bar's out in front of you, you're trying to have to gain ground by pulling the bar back. We don't want to fucking pull the bar. We don't, all right? So deadlift-wise, shoulders need to be over top of the bar, bars against the shin. Yeah, we'll talk about all that stuff here in a second, okay? So here's a position we want to be in. One thing that the athletes have a real big problem with is that most times you tell them to get back in a conventional deadlift and drive their hips back. First off, the knees go forward. Chest goes up, shoulders go behind the bar. Horrible position, absolutely horrible position, okay? So the things you want to look at, have them start off with shins as perpendicular as possible. Might not happen, that's what you want to try to get to. Notice shoulder is over top of the bar, maybe even slightly in front. That is okay, that is where you want to be at. Hips are loaded back, weights on the heel, so on and so forth. Drive the heels in the ground, bars coming straight up the shin. You don't necessarily need to drag it. The one thing my athletes, when we do deadlifting and everything else, I don't have them drag the bar up their shin, okay? I want them to pull the bar into the hip, but at the end of the day, I don't need a bunch of bloody athletes walking around camps all day wondering why in the hell they look the way that they do. Especially if you're working with female athletes, they're gonna hate you for it, okay? So the bar's gotta stay in as tight as you possibly can. Shoulder over top of the bar a little bit, and that'll help make sure shoulders out and over top or slightly in front, and then we keep the bar in as tight as we possibly can. Basically finish off pulling to the hip. Okay, and you gotta make sure the athletes understand, I'm not telling you to pull the bar with your arms. Literally the bar pass should be, I'm pulling back towards my hip, lock your hips out of the top, and you're good to go.